This is all wrong! Hey guys, welcome back to the calm and collected motorcycle garage. Yeah, I'm just playing around. A while ago I made a carbon fibre mudguard out of a mudguard section, and it actually worked out really well considering it's the first time. I did a little clip of it on the old Instagram, but one thing I found annoying was, well, I didn't have, not like you ever see the underside of it, but it wasn't that neat, and also the way that I'd modelled it, I had to cut away a lot of excess, making it quite narrow, so meaning that when you took it over here, whilst it matches the profile perfectly, it's just too skinny and looks a little bit shit in my opinion. So what we're going to do today is try and remake this. What I've done differently this time is I bought some filleting wax, which is filled in the void. This bit here had a little lip in it, and that's part of the reason that I wasn't able to do this properly last time. I was having to, because it was like a time for a visual, because it was like kind of shaped like that, you can't really better? Yes, better. Yes. Oh, I'm making biltong. First time making it. My neighbour who's moved away, sad face, has moved back to South Africa, which is a real shame because I got on really well with him, and I actually blamed him for not finishing Panther, because every time I would come out he would be out drinking beer, and then yeah, I would drink beer, and then we wouldn't actually do that much apart from just shoot the shit and work on random little projects, nothing to do with the bike. So yeah, it's his fault that the bike isn't done, so thank you, Adam. But anyway, he's moving away back to South Africa, which is a bit of a shame. However, he's left me his biltong maker, which is absolutely nothing to do with this video, and if you don't like it, then you can hit like. So yeah, I've got some filleting wax, and I filled in this little void here. That was it. I was doing a visual. So the mudguard was kind of like that, and if you want to try with that being the profile, but this little lip meant that you couldn't actually remove what you just made, because it's kind of sealed it in. So got some filleting wax, which is like all of this kind of shit's really expensive. Like, I know it doesn't sound like much, but 20 quid for filleting wax for something that you need literally that much to fill in the bit that I need. Now that I've got it, the capital outlay of a lot of these things is quite expensive. Now that I've got it, it's fine, I can use it on lots of different projects. But anyway, filleting wax. So I've put filleting wax in place. Hopefully this gives me a nice smooth curve. I have used shit, where is it? One of those things you use for putting in grout, which left me a nice, give me a nice edge, nice smooth edge, because I was trying to do it by hand and it just looked like shit, and that will get transferred to the final product. So I now have, I bought a starter pack from Easy Composites for making carbon fibre. I had some, this is like a wet lay. This is just very similar to how you do fiberglass. It's not, I mean, I think true fiberglass either needs like an autoclave, or like it needs cured, or you can actually use a vacuum to help pull the resin all the way through. But for bits like this, pattern parts that are not, we're just looking for, I mean, it's nice and light, whee, but it's also it's fucking little dog. It's also yeah, it's quite durable as well. So yeah, I think what we'll do is, it doesn't need the full bift or the full process to make it ultra strong. It's still going to be strong. Ultimately, it's the look we're going for with this. So what I ended up doing was I bought this kit from Easy Composites. Where the fuck is it? I'll dig out all the bits when we go to do the actual wet layup. But that in itself, again, was probably quite expensive for what you actually get. So after I'd made this part, I had to go and buy more from Easy Composites. So I ended up buying a little bit more a couple of rules, knowing that I was going to be doing more. So we'll go get started. Process is very similar to what we've done before. We will put some PVA mold release agent on. We'll get some carbon fibre cut to size. We'll put it in place. We'll let it cure. I think I'll probably do 3 or 4 layers. This is like 3 layers, and it's just a little bit thin. I mean, it's durable, but it's a little bit thin. Probably do 4 layers, and yeah, we'll let it cure. Hopefully it demolds, and then hopefully we have a nice part with a bit bigger and matches exactly what I need. And then we'll cut it to size, and then hopefully that'll be one job completed, fully completed. Well, still need to mount it, but we'll talk about that afterwards. So yeah, let's go and do the next bit. Well, this is a gigantic pain in the hole. My PVA release agent, somebody, me, didn't put it back in the box properly, and it's now a nice blue congealed pile of disappointment at the bottom of this box. So luckily that kit I was just slating also came with some PVA release agent. So well, that was the kit. It came with the world's smallest amount of carbon fibre and some chemicals. So I'm going to be using the remainder of those chemicals, and probably going to set up outside to cut all this shit, because it's a nice enough day and there's not really much room for activities in here, so we'll head outside. Okay, so we have a couple of rolls. We'll move this out of the way at the moment. A couple of rolls of carbon fibre. So this one here, which you can't really tell the difference because it's wrapped up at the moment, but this one here, I think it's a higher grade one for finishing off. So this is the first coat, the one that you'll see. So this is the first one I'll cut, and I'll just put one layer of that just because it's visual, and I'll put this in. What's important, I guess, with carbon fibre is because you can see that first layer compared to fiberglass, you've got to align it right. So you want it nice and central. You don't want it to be pulled left or right when you actually lay it, which I think I managed to nail okay with this. He says there's big waves in it, but this ended up looking alright. Rufus, you don't need to play with your toy right now. So fucking hell. 2 seconds. There's not the time. Go play that. Go on. Oh, little shitbag. Anyway, the other one is the reinforcing layer, so the one that I'll put 2 or 3 behind. So I bought a few of these, bought a few meters worth, knowing that I was going to make some more. We can edit that out. I also bought some peel ply, which apparently you're meant to use. I'm not really sure how you use it, what you do with it, but I know it's put on as a last coat and it's meant to give a nicer finish to bits in the inside, so we shall see what that looks like. One thing I did do before that I probably used too much resin, start to pull up a little bit in the inside, and if you don't cut it right, it definitely strands out a little bit. So like I say, this is a wet lay for fiberglassing. I got it off the Easy Composites website. They're doing a lot of great stuff at the moment, showing how you can use 3D printers in combination with some of the kits that they sell to make some really cool parts. So that was right up my alley when I saw that bit, when I saw them make a carbon fibre bit out of a 3D printed part. So got the old ticker going, and that's where we've led to this here. My plan, yeah, we'll go and get this PVA glued, not PVA glued, it's the opposite, PVA mold release. We'll get that put on, and we'll cut this to size first, PVA mold release, layer the whole stuff up, and I'll probably take it into the house to cure because it's a little bit warmer. It's getting cold in old Scotland at the moment. So yeah, we'll set up a time lapse and I'll speak to you about it afterwards. Hopefully it works. Okay, I may have skipped a step or two. Been on a training course and I didn't really get much time to look at this. However, I did demold it the other night. You can see this little cutaway, which was absolutely fine. It seemed to work out pretty well. One thing that hasn't worked out is, I don't know if you can see here, I'll try and get some close-ups. There's been bits where the epoxy hasn't fully, I guess, adhered to the fibre itself. Now that's not the end of the world, you can fix that, and I'm going to try and fix it because everything else is pretty chuffed with how this has turned out. So what I'm going to do before I do that is trim it to size, or at least trim it to a rough size, and then we'll sand down in various stages. Fucking hate people walking around and outside, and especially when I'm trying to create some awesome content. Anyway, yeah, we will trim it to size, get a mask on. I've got a cutting disc, like a abrasive wheel cutting disc to go on my grinder, and then we'll get it cut to a rough size, and then we'll start sanding it down. I'm not entirely sure how this is going to work out. Apparently that's the way to do it. You just work through various stages of grit and then put coats of epoxy on, sand, grit, epoxy, all that kind of shit. So we may get really lucky, we may not, but I'm going to try and rescue this the best I can because I think it's going to look pretty badass. And if I try it again, I'm pretty sure only the same thing's going to happen again. See, can you see it here? It's just bits where it's not fully adhered. So yeah, let's get the grinder fired up and trim this shit, and then we'll start some sanding. Yay! So, can't see that, which kind of defies the whole point of me recording this. It's a little, I think it's a Bosch diamond coated blade thing. So that makes really light work of the carbon fibre, which is ideal because it's pretty, gums up a lot of shit with all the fibre, so it just seems to cut away that nicely. So I just need to double check the radius of the original mudguard. I think we're going to be okay, and then I'll just sand that nice, get that nice and smooth, because I kind of want that final shape before I start putting epoxy and stuff on it, because otherwise, if it's not cut the final shape and start doing that, I'm going to have to cut it again. I may make a mistake, so I'm just wanting to get the final shape now before I spend any more time on it. Make sense? I hope so. So I'm thinking, boop. So I'm thinking, I've got a weird shelf because of, never mind, shelf beard. I'm going to use the old mould as a reference for where to sand flush to. Hopefully you can see that. Likewise with the curve, if I can do, show you what I'm on about. Come on, you piece of shit. If I can just take a bit off of this, like that, then I can just use that for my curve and get a nice, if that makes sense, hopefully, to people. So yeah, it might work, hopefully it works, we shall see. I don't think I explained that very well. Okay, this is, I think I'm going down a rabbit hole with this, and that's fine. However, I want my results to be worthwhile if I'm going to go down a rabbit hole. So one of the things I'm struggling with right now is large curves and getting them perfect. And if you look that fine, you think, oh, that looks quite good, but you look a little bit closer, it's just, this runs out of focus, but you can tell it's not that good. And unfortunately, the way that this has been made and trimmed, I don't really have much of a reference point anymore. And then also, the way that this has been made, because I've had to fillet all of these, which has helped, and it's allowed me to release the mould, that's probably one of the primary reasons I've not been able to get a good bond, because it kind of correlates to the inside here. So this isn't for the bin yet. However, I'd like to try and work another option in the background, and I want to revisit casting from the outside, making a mould on the outside, to then have something else, because the way that this has been made is it's slightly smaller, so it doesn't really fit over the tyre that nice. It's actually it's almost too much like that when it needs to be a bit more, and that's just because of the way that it's been cast, the thickness of it and everything else, which is fine, that makes sense. But now that I'm looking at it and I've had time to mull it over, I mean that looks fine there, but I'm going to spend a good few hours sanding this down, putting coats of epoxy on it, hoping that it'll turn out nice. Whereas if I know I can maybe cast it a little bit better in the first instance, that's probably going to suit me better, or at least it sits with me a little bit better. So we're going to revisit this green goo again as a tooling gel coat, and then put a few layers of fiberglass on the top to make a mould. And we're going to try and revisit making a mould. I might have a look back at the other videos as to why it didn't work. I think it was that horrible green shit didn't work before, but I've got a few ideas to try and make this work this time. So I don't think I need the full length either, so I think if I can maybe go from, say, here to here, or here for instance, we can be a little bit smarter as to how we box everything in. So I'm going to apply some tooling gel coat. Well, apply some PVA, some tooling gel coat. It's bloody cold in here, so we've got Mr. Heater keeping us from freezing our nuts off, and tasty enamel mugs keeping our hands warm. But I don't want to put all that effort in. I think I can be smarter from the offset. Now if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but hopefully it helps people. I've got a few more of these mudguards to probably make for the one next door. If I get a sidecar, I'd want to put a mudguard in that. I'm going to use an 18-inch wheel on the front. So if I'm going to make 3 or 4 mudguards, I'd be as well having a robust methodology and mould that allows me to repeat it and get good results every time, and try and get a nice radius and everything else. So please don't hate me. Which means though, we'll get the mould made. I'm back offshore in a couple of days, so I don't know how much of this we're going to get done. So we'll get the mould made, or attempt the start of the mould anyway, and we'll see how we get on from there. But sorry anyone who's watched, hoping to see a nice finished shiny carbon fibre. Anyone that's watched my videos for long enough will know that nothing ever gets done in an episode. Alright, let's get this shit on, this Mr. Green slime. Okay, so it's currently some storm, whatever the fuck it's called outside. Means that it's 100 mph winds, and it's pretty crazy. That's why my hair is so nuts. So that's the second coat of this tasty glue applied, and that's just a tooling gel coat, which allows you to have a robust mold. That's like that takes the imprint from the mudguard in this instance. So what we'll do next is, there's this shitty horrible stuff I used before that I didn't really like, but what I think I'm going to do is just put 3 or 4 layers of fiberglass just on top, and then that will adhere directly to this tooling gel coat. I'll leave that overnight, and then that will probably be as much as I can get done. I'm going down to a gig this weekend, so yeah, probably not going to have the opportunity to do much more before I go away offshore. So what we'll do is, unfortunately, I wanted to do better with this, so we're parking this at the moment. We're going to try and get this demolded. We'll get this made up and turned into a nice mold. I'll demold that and see what it looks like. So next time I pick up a video, hopefully we'll be redoing this, maybe with a vacuum bag, as well as a better molding surface. See what that looks like. If that job's a good one, then we know that that's a successful way to do fiberglass, sorry, carbon fibering. I've got a lot of carbon fibre, which is fine. I just didn't want to necessarily use it all fucking up mudguards, but c'est la vie. So I'm not going to film this because I can't really be arsed. My channel seems to be an extension of how not to do fiberglassing, so I'm just going to get this done and out of the way, and then I will catch you in the next video, whenever that may be. So hopefully this hasn't been a complete and utter waste of your time. You now know one way not to do this. If this was fiberglass, this would have been fine, probably. But because it's slightly different resins and it all bonds a little bit differently, I don't necessarily think that is the best way of doing it. So, in my humble, lackluster opinion. So, anyway, let's leave it at that. So, like, comment, subscribe, and all that other bollocks that helps the channel grow. It just grows, ticks along, grows nicely. So, it's always nice to come back and then see I've got another 50 followers for whatever reason. You're all nuts. So, until next time, take it easy, guys, and I'll see you soon.